Hello BookTube, this is my August reading plan. My apologies if during this video I seem down and irritable. Today has not been a very good day. The rest of my day promises not to be very good, and I doubt very seriously if my day will improve tomorrow. But maybe doing this video and trying to bring some order to the chaos that is my August reading plan will bring me some joy. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the manga. Every month I put in a pre-order with Book People, the great independent bookstore in Austin, Texas, for the next month's new manga in the series that I follow, as well as series that I want to try out. So I'm expecting my July pre-orders to come in very early in August. Hopefully by tomorrow, hopefully not during the weekend. Early next week would be okay. Just as long as it's not the weekend, because I'm constantly worried that UPS will misdeliver my packages. They've done it a few times already when it's not the usual driver, including the last time we had UPS. So, fingers crossed this delivery will be okay. Anyway, so my August pre-orders my July pre-orders are Eden Zero Volume 32 by Hiro Mishima, the penultimate volume. The final volume comes out in late September. Demons of the Shadow Realm, Volume 8 by Hiromu Arakawa. Record of Ragnarok 15 by Umemura, Fukui, and Azuchika. Twin Star Exorcist, Volume 34 by Yoshiaki Tsukino, which is the penultimate volume of Twin Star Exorcists. The final volume comes out in, I think, October. Getsu Akuda Volume 7 by Kei Orana. Toraban Hanako-kun Volume 22 by Aida Iro. Dark Gathering Volume 14 by Kenichi Kondo. And the first volume of Nue's Exorcist by Kota Kawai. So I will definitely be reading them once I get them. Whether it's during the work week or during the weekend, when I can do pretty much all of them over the course of reading day. There is a possibility, slim, that my August pre-orders will come in as well during August. I doubt it. But those books would be Dead Rock Volume 3 by Hiro Mishima. Astro Royale Volume 1 by Ken Wakui. Dan Volume 14 by Yukonabu Tatsu. Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 27 by Gege Akutami. Fortnite of the Apocalypse Volume 18 by Nakaba Suzuki. Kagurabachi Volume 4 by Takeru Hokazono. Snowball Earth Volume 6 by Yuhiro Tsuchitsugu. And Sakamoto Days Volume 18 by Yuto Suzuki. Now, Four Nights of the Apocalypse 18 comes out the 26th of August, which is the last last Tuesday in August. And so I might not necessarily be able to get it. If it comes in August, it'll be the last days of August. Depending on when exactly Book People gets the order ready for shipping and shipped out. Again, the July pre-order and the August pre-order will be delivered by UPS, and I'm going to see how things are delivered to see whether or not I go back to using the USPS for delivery. Anyway, I might also be reading other manga as well. There is, of course, Mission Yazakura Family by Hitsuji Gondaira that I've been reading the last few weeks. And I have the most recent 5 volumes, and the next volume, the 18th volume, comes out in August. And that has been ordered separately from the Book People order. So while I will probably haul it with my August pre-orders from Book People, I will go ahead and read them with the rest of the other 5 volumes of Mission Yazakura Family that I have not gotten to. Other manga I might be reading will be One Piece by Eiichiro Oda and anything that strikes my fancy, depending how the rest of my reading month goes, which is where we get to the sheer insanity section of this reading plan. Okay, so I'm going to start off with BookTube event. So this year, Roz of Scandaladaddling About the Books and a co-host have created a BookTube event called Reading Around the Globe. And the August pick for this reading series is Old Kiln by Gia Pingwa, translated by James Trepp, Olivia Milburn, and Christopher Payne. So I might try to read this book in August. Another event more personal to me that I occasionally try to do in August is what I call my back to school reading project, which is inspired by a one-off BookTube event created by Doors of Oldie Books back in 2020 that used the class subjects of American junior high and high schools for inspiration. And so this year I was going to go with a mostly fiction-heavy version of this, although I'll explain once I go through the books. Okay, so for English, I had said The Trouble with Goats and Sheep by Joanna Cannon. This book is one that I've had for quite a number of years and would like to finally get around to reading it, which is one of the great uses of this personal BookTube project event, whatever the hell it is. For history, I was going to give a second attempt at My Name is Red by Orhan Pamuk, translated from the Turkish by Erdeg M. Goknar. For science, math, and computer science, I've been thinking about The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. This would be a reread. Sundiver by David Brin. This will be a first-time read. And more specifically for computer science, because it is cyberpunk, which works wonderfully with computer science, would be a reread of Neuromancer by William Gibson. Also competing for the computer science spot would be a reread of The Sluts by Dennis Cooper. For theater arts, I was going to reread Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf by Edward Albee. For PE, I was going to read The Natural by Bernard Malamud, which is about baseball and would be a first-time read. And for home ec, I would be rereading At Home at the End of the World by Mako Cunningham. And then for art would be manga. I'm not super thrilled with some of my choices, particularly the science fiction choices. I read The Dispossessed and Neuromancer before, and I'm not sure if I really want to reread them. And I've mentioned a number of times, and I mean, if you watch my channel for any length of time, you'll probably have picked up that while I was a science fiction and fantasy fan for a very long time, my love for the genre has largely withered over the last 5 years. And I'm not really enthusiastic about these 3 choices. I'd originally thought about maybe doing a more nonfiction heavy version of this, where instead of science fiction and fantasy, I would be picking like a math book for math, science books for science, figure something out for computer science, maybe history of video games I could fit in there. I wonder if there are any histories of video games. And then work my way through maybe some nonfiction for the electives. And then just fiction would be the English and the... oh, crud. I completely forgot the second language. Which would probably be A Bell Redemption of Paradise by Fernanda Melchor, translated by Sophie Hughes. Now, let's go put her back where she went. And then everything else would be nonfiction except for a play and the manga. But I never really got around to trying to add more any math or more history, more science to my library. So I pretty much went with this, and I'm still not entirely sure this is what I want to do. Now, another major BookTube event in August is Women in Translation Month. And so I did set up a pile for that if I wanted to focus more heavily on women in translation this year. So I could reread A View with a Grain of Sand by Wisława Szymborska. This is one of my favorite poetry collections. It is translated by Stanislaw, from the Polish by Stanislaw Baranczak and Claire Kavanaugh. I could give Bell Redemptions to Etudes by Friederike Mayrocker, translated from the German by Donna Stone-Cipher. Once again, do a Bell Redemption of Paradise by Fernanda Melchor, translated from the Spanish by Sophie Hughes. A Bell Redemption of Kairos by Jenny Erpenbeck, translated from the German by Michael Hoffman. A Bell Redemption of Tomb of Sand by Gitanjali Shri, translated from the Hindi, I think, by Daisy Rockwell. Read for the First Time On the Royal Road by Elfriede Jelinek, translated from the German by Gita Honegger. Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk, translated from the Polish by Antonia Lloyd-Jones. And The Complete Poems of Enheduanna, translated from the Akkadian by Sophus Hele. Now, I was also thinking about maybe some kind of themed reading. So if I decided to read, say, Enheduanna, I could also read There Are Rovers in the Sky by Elif Shafak, which in part takes place in Mesopotamia, both in ancient Mesopotamia as well as in more modern Mesopotamia, which would also play into a book I will be getting in August, which I will talk about when I get to the history section of this reading plan. I could also do, excuse me, a reread of Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, and then reread the inspired novel of The Hours by Michael Cunningham, which would be a reread. And read for the first time Theory and Practice by Michelle DeCruster. Both The Hours and Theory and Practice deal with Virginia Woolf. Okay, and then I have some history. So last month I hauled India, 5,000 Years of History on the Subcontinent by Audrey Truschka, which I would like to get to sooner rather than later. And I would like to get to Summer of Fire and Blood, The German Peasants' War by Nundel Roper, which is on the long list for the Kundal History Prize. I've been hoping to do a video looking at the rest of the Kundal History Prize long list, but that video just does not want to be made, or at least not yet. Maybe if I brought in some water and drank while I was reading off the descriptions of the long list, that might work. Anyway, also in August, I will be hauling Manga, A New History of Japanese Comics by Elka Exner, and Between Two Rivers, Ancient Mesopotamia and the Birth of History by Moody Al-Rashid, which will play in with the complete poems of Enheduanna and also There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak. Now, this is an immense group of books that would be impossible for me to read. So I need to whittle them down. Now, for the manga, I could do like a Saturday or a Sunday. I could read them rather easily. It would just be 2 extra volumes to my usual 6, which I think is what I will do. I'm not entirely sure what I will read tomorrow. That's up in the air. Also, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be reading today. That's also up in the air. I'll report back tomorrow what exactly I read today, and also what I will be reading tomorrow. The weekly reads will be an early one. So what do I want to do? Because if I did the back to school thing, that would pretty much take up most of my reading. How do I want to do this? Because some of these I can push back to Remember December and Bell Redemption December. But I think Okay. Sorry it's taken me a bit of time to figure out what I want to do. I think I'm going to go with the back to school. I think that's what I will do. So I think I'll do back to school. And then try to get in some history. Yeah, I think that sounds like a plan, although I'm not super enthusiastic. But I also want to reread View with the Grain of Sand by Wisława Szymborska. So I think I can do that. And I think I'll do it had one or two. So yeah, so I'll do that. Yanni Erpenbeck I could get with Bell Redemption December. Could also maybe. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Anyway, BookTube, I will of course be reporting back over the course of August how this reading plan turns out or if things change. So, I will see you tomorrow with Weekly Reads. So until then, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.